Studying in Australia is one of the best ways to live, work, and eventually get permanent residency in Australia. And in this video, we'll go over the exact step-by-step process you need to follow to study in Australia. Step 1 is to find a suitable course. One of the most important steps in this process is actually choosing which course to study. A huge mistake that a lot of people make is selecting the wrong course or picking a course that they will not be able to do. This is one of the worst things you can do, since most of the time, students will arrive in Australia, realize that the course they're doing doesn't lead to permanent residency in Australia, or it's too hard, and end up wasting thousands of dollars on tuition fees while also hurting the academic transcript in the process. You also can't change your course until you spend at least 6 months at the selected institute studying the course you signed up for. For example, if you're studying a bachelor's degree, you'll have to spend at least 6 months studying your bachelor's before you can shift to another course. If, however, you're doing a trade course, which has multiple courses inside, such as a Certificate 3, Cert 4, a diploma, and an advanced diploma, you'll have to spend 6 months studying whatever the last course is in your package. So in this example, you'll have to spend at least 6 months studying the last course, which is your advanced diploma. Ideally, the course you choose should be something you are interested in, something you can complete, and isn't extremely difficult. It's within your budget and leads to permanent residency in Australia if that is one of your goals. Since permanent residency in Australia is based on an occupation list decided by the Australian government, most students end up studying in fields that can lead to PR, and some of the most popular areas of study include nursing, healthcare and medicine, computer science and information technology, accounting, hospitality, commercial cookery and patisserie, education and teaching, engineering and technology, automotive, mechanic, construction, carpentry and painting, and hairdressing. You can also stay and work in Australia for anywhere between 2 to 4 years after your studies finish, thanks to the temporary graduate visa, which is the subclass 485. Step 2 is to check your entry requirements. Each institute and course has its own requirements. This can include what you studied in Year 12, your results, and if you've already completed a bachelor's degree, that will also be considered, along with your work experience if you have any. Each institute and course also has specific English requirements, and you'll need the required marks for one of the following English tests: IELTS, PTE, or TOEFL. For example, a university may have a requirement for 6 bands each in IELTS or 50 in PTE, with no band score less than 42 for an IT course. Whereas for nursing, you may require 7 bands each in IELTS or 65 in PTE. To study in Australia, you need to do an English test, and the minimum required score for obtaining a student visa is 5.5 in IELTS or 42 in PTE. Step 3 is to apply for a course. Once you decide which course to study and meet the entry requirements, the next step is to apply for the course. You'll need copies of the following documents to begin the application process: your passport, front and back, your government ID card, 10th and 12th results, English results, other educational results such as your bachelor's, diploma, or master's, if applicable, your resume and CV, if you have any work experience during or after completing your studies, change of name documents, if applicable, any other documents that are required. Step 4 is receiving an offer letter. Successful applicants will receive a letter of offer. This means that you have been accepted to study at the institute you've applied for. If you receive a conditional offer letter, that means you will have been accepted to study, but there are additional requirements you must fulfill. These conditions will be stated in your letter of offer and can include English requirements, if you haven't yet completed an English test, documentary evidence requirements, if additional documents are required, financial requirements to make sure you meet the required finances for the course. You must meet these conditions and provide evidence before you can accept your offer. Step 5 is receiving your confirmation of enrollment. A confirmation of enrollment, or a COE, is a letter from the institute confirming that you've successfully been enrolled in your selected course. To receive a COE, you need to pay the first installment of your course fee, which is typically the first semester fee, along with any administrative charges which are non-refundable. This fee varies greatly depending on the type of course and institute you've enrolled in. For example, a diploma level course may be close to 7,500 Australian dollars per semester, whereas a degree may be closer to 15,000 Australian dollars per semester. Each institute has its own refund policy, and in the case of a visa application being unsuccessful, you are generally entitled to a full refund of your fees minus any administrative charges. If your visa application is successful, the refund policy for each institute varies depending on when you apply for a refund prior to your course commencement date. For example, asking for a refund 30 days before a course commencement could mean a 100% refund minus any admin charges, whereas a refund 7 days before commencement could be only 50% of the fees refunded. The refund policy is generally outlined in your letter of offer. Step 6 is to finally apply for a student visa. Once you've received your COE, you're finally eligible to apply for a student visa. Depending on the type of course you've selected, such as a diploma or a degree, the processing time varies greatly and the applications can take many weeks to process. You will be required to provide your COE and additional documents to apply for your visa. Another criteria for a student visa is that you must have enough money to support yourself during your stay in Australia, and you must provide evidence of funds to support your study. As a student, you have the option to take a study loan from your home country to fulfill this requirement. This will depend on your personal situation and the financial institution you approach. Before you apply for your visa, you must also be covered by overseas student health cover, starting from the day you arrive in Australia for the entire duration of your stay. After applying for your student visa, there are only 2 more steps left to start studying in Australia. I know that applying for your visa is an important step and is often an overwhelming and complicated process. We can help you sort out your visa and process your application through a registered migration agent, as well as help you with every step of the process. Step 7 is planning your arrival. If your visa application is successful, it's time to plan your arrival. All you have to do now is book your flight tickets for a suitable date according to your visa and course commencement date. And number 2 is to organize accommodation. Students often neglect this step and just stay at a hotel during the first few days in Australia. This can end up costing them many times more than what it would if they had organized accommodation before arriving. Once you've arrived in Australia, your visa will be activated and you will be able to apply for a unique student identifier at the link on the screen. This is something you need to do before your course starts. Step 8 is to finally travel to Australia. Congratulations, you've finally completed and passed every single step needed to study in Australia. Now all you need to do is actually travel here and have an experience of a lifetime. Now you might be thinking, how much will it actually cost to study in Australia? Well, the Australian government advises around 21,000 Australian dollars per student per year for living expenses. The actual cost depends on your lifestyle and should budget for approximately 25,000 per year. Remember, your living expenses are separate from your tuition fees. Since it can often take some time for money to be transferred from your home country to Australia, you should bring enough money with you to cover your expenses for the first few weeks. Currency can be exchanged at the airport and other forex locations, generally available at shopping centers and malls. So as we can see, the minimum you'll need per year is around 25,000 plus tuition fees, which can add up to a lot. But that's what makes Australia so interesting. Even though the expenses might be high, the amount you can make by working here is often quite high, and some students even make around 60,000 Australian dollars per year just by doing things such as Uber Eats. If you consider around 25,000 for living expenses in a year, that leaves around 35,000 for your tuition fees and to spend on anything else. If you want to study in Australia, there's 3 intakes during the year. The main intake and the most important intake is during February, the second is in July, and the third is in November. And trade courses can have up to 10 intakes per year. And the best time to start the process is right now. This is because just your student visa application alone can take up to 5 months to process with the Australian government. You also need to find the right course, make sure you meet all the requirements and apply, which can take a few weeks. Since Feb is the main intake for the year, you may have a better chance of being successful. And you should definitely try and do whatever it takes to take advantage of this. Over the past few years, we've helped many people live the type of life they want by helping them study and get their visa and help with their permanent residency in Australia. If you want to start the process of studying in Australia, living, or getting PR in Australia, or if you just need help with your situation, go to easyeducation.com.au/get started or click the link in the description to get started. I look forward to helping you live the life you want in Australia.